decades of war leave scars that never fade. At 25, our boy Damien steps onto his first battlefield, tasting the cold reality of his first kill as blood splatters the cracked earth. 2,000 dead enemies later, the seasoned warrior finally collapses, clinging to his spear as his vision fades into darkness. But instead of death, he opens his eyes 17 years in the past. His greedy uncle and a corrupt notary are already scheming to steal his inheritance, expecting a helpless child to sign the paperwork. The fat leech promises to return the cash when the boy grows up, completely unaware that the kid in front of him is no longer an easy mark. Damien rips the contract to shreds and demands the money be locked in his name, delivering a level of disrespect that leaves his relatives completely speechless. Infuriated, the trash uncle grabs the 13-year-old menace by the collar, but our boy just smirks right in his face. Before the man can finish his threat, Damien delivers a brutal left hook, sending the heavy leech crashing straight into a table. With his client groaning on the floor, the terrified notary scrambles to rewrite the contract. A normal 13-year-old would be helpless, but with a lifetime of future combat experience, our boy is already dictating the terms. To understand how he got here, we have to look back at the desperate battle that ended his first life. Under a cold moon, trapped in a reckless operation, a battered centurion prepares for his final stand. In his past life, Damien was a disposable pawn, thrown into a suicidal canyon meat grinder where a single centurion and 100 men were ordered to wipe out an army of 2,000. Though the desperate operation somehow succeeded, the cost was absolute devastation. Left as the sole survivor among his slaughtered comrades, the dying warrior could only weep for his lack of strength. Bleeding out under the cold moon, his life slowly slips away. With his final breath, he prays for just one more chance, a single opportunity to reclaim his fate and truly dominate the battlefield. His heart stops, his hand falling limp into the blood-soaked dirt. The legendary centurion dies a nameless death, convinced his journey has come to a tragic, bitter end. But death rejects him. Damien wakes up in his 13-year-old body 17 years in the past. Even more shocking, the useless broken mana core from his youth is now perfectly intact. In his previous life, he was a magicless grunt, but now he can actually cultivate mana. This single difference changes everything, turning a tragic destiny into a clean slate. See, in his original timeline, his uncle stole his inheritance, forcing him to live as a street orphan. He took the fall for a gang's crime, ended up in prison, and was dragged to the front lines as cannon fodder. Against all odds, he survived that hell to become a centurion, but he has no intention of repeating that exhausting cycle. This time, he'll write his own rules. But as he relaxes on his bed, the trained instincts of a war veteran kick in. A creak outside his door warns him that he's no longer alone. As a gloved hand quietly turns the door handle, our boy slips a hidden dagger from under his pillow, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The second the door creaks open, Damien launches himself from above, dropping like a shadow onto the unsuspecting intruder with his blade aimed straight for the kill. His dagger bites deep into the assassin's thigh, drawing first blood. But the kid quickly clicks his tongue in frustration, realizing the shallow blow didn't sink all the way in. Enraged, the masked killer swings back to retaliate, but our boy's veteran combat reflexes make the incoming blade look like it's moving in slow motion. Slipping effortlessly beneath the counterattack, Damien drives his blade home to finish the threat. With the assassin down, the young warrior stands in the dark, wondering exactly who sent this hit. Blood pools on the floor as our boy pins down an assassin, demanding to know if a man named Parker sent them to finish him off. Before the thug can speak, a scarred swordsman named Mukman enters, causing our young protagonist to realize his past abduction was set up from the start. Without hesitation, Damien silences the assassin as memories of his past life flash forward. 17 years ago, he was dragged into the dark alleys, completely helpless. See, the kid was beaten and sold out by Parker for a handful of gold, but this time, the 9-year-old menace is ready for payback. Mukman lunges with lethal intent, but the little general easily slips past the deadly steel. He smiles, realizing his opponent's strikes are painfully slow. Dodging every desperate swing, the kid relies on his ultimate survival asset. After enduring thousands of battles in his past life, his eyes can read every trajectory. By tracking the opponent's gaze, the feet, and the twist of the waist, every incoming strike becomes completely transparent. The frustrated swordsman swings wildly, but he cannot land a single blow. With a precise counter, Damien pierces the swordsman's wrist and disarms him instantly. The tables have turned, leaving the once confident attacker screaming in agony. Mukman collapses, trembling in utter disbelief. He cannot fathom how a 13-year-old kid could effortlessly dismantle a veteran swordsman, but to our boy, this life-or-death struggle is child's play. As the little general wipes the blood from his blade, he casually explains that he can predict every attack simply by watching his opponent's movements. To the wounded assassin, it sounds like pure madness. Pressing the steel against the swordsman's throat, Damien demands to know if Parker sent them. When the thug threatens to spread rumors, the kid coldly reminds him that dead men tell no tales. Met with silence, our young protagonist threatens to leave the mercenary crippled for life. The sheer weight of the child's murderous gaze breaks the swordsman, who finally confesses that Parker instigated the hit. Now that he has the confirmation he needs, Damien sees no reason to leave a threat alive. With one swift, merciless slash, he silences the mercenary forever, leaving another corpse on the floor. In his past life, the spearman learned a simple truth. If you make an enemy, you must crush them entirely. Leaving the bloody room behind, the kid prepares to tie up his final loose end. Meanwhile, at the local manor, Parker anxiously waits behind his desks. Beside him, a mysterious hooded figure checks his pocket watch, confident that they will soon capture the escaping child. Furious over the trouble the kid has caused, the corrupt merchant demands results. But before their conversation can continue, a sudden knock at the door fills the room with tense silence. Inside the office, Parker's accomplice senses an intruder. The corrupt merchant fumes with rage, desperate to eliminate the kid once his insurance deal is finalized. Suddenly, a spearhead shatters the door. The mercenary barely dodges the deadly thrust as our boy forces his way inside, leaving Parker shrieking in terror. Damien steps into the room, spear in hand. Confronted by the hooded guard, the 9-year-old menace casually insults him, calling him a lackey for the pig behind the desk. Amused by the kid's arrogance, the mercenary demands triple the commission fee from a terrified Parker to handle this new threat. Looking at the blood dripping from Damien's spear, the mercenary realizes the previous assassins are dead. Preparing for a true battle, he draws his blades against the unexpected monster. The bloody spear in our boy's hand makes it clear that the assassination attempt has run into a massive roadblock. Damien stands tall, completely unfazed by the threat before him. Inside the mansion, the bruised client panics as his hired killer prepares to walk away from the job. Seeing the little monster's lethal combat stance, the assassin decides this target is not worth the risk. Desperate to survive, the employer offers to triple the bounty, instantly buying the mercenary's loyalty back. While Montal claims his work is just business, our hero has a deeply personal score to settle with these back-alley scumbags. See, Damien remembers his past life of rotting in the gutters and having his mana core destroyed by scum exactly like this. He grips his spear, promising that nobody is walking out of this room alive. The assassin charges with blinding speed, but the 9-year-old menace instantly reads the trajectory and aims straight for his opponent's legs. Realizing this kid is no ordinary child, the killer is forced onto the defensive. The mercenary guards his face, executing a swift feint to open up a path toward the boy's thigh. Believing he has baited his prey, the killer unleashes his true lethal blow to finish the fight. But the young general has already anticipated the trick. With a fluid spin, he avoids the blade and drives a heavy blow right into the assassin's torso, leaving the experienced killer coughing up blood in shock. Rage consumes the mercenary as he spits out curses, trying to muster one final, desperate counterattack. But the damage is already done, and his body collapses onto the floor in a pool of his own blood. Looking down at the defeated foe, Damien notes that while this killer was slightly tougher than standard street thugs, he was still nothing more than back-alley trash compared to a battle-hardened centurion. With the assassin down, our boy turns his chilling gaze toward the terrified client. The fat noble trembles on his knees, begging the kid to listen, but Damien silently steps forward, ignoring the screams for mercy as he finishes the job. After resolving the mess at the mansion, the young genius immediately collects his massive insurance payout of 6 platinum and 650 gold. With his pockets full, he prepares to embark on a long journey, leaving the bank teller completely puzzled. When asked where he is headed, Damien calmly reveals his plan to enlist in the army. The teller is shocked, but our boy knows the carriage ride ahead is the first step toward reclaiming his destiny on the battlefield. Riding toward his destination, the little general smiles. He knows his old comrades are waiting out there, and the military is the only place where a battle-hardened soldier like him truly belongs. See, in just 5 years, an inescapable age of war will sweep across the land, forcing every young man into brutal conscription. If Damien wants to survive the coming storm, he must act long before the chaos begins. Fortunately, this timeline's mana core is completely intact, allowing him to volunteer early. To prepare, he spends a week practicing the Delft mana cultivation method to build a solid foundation before applying to the training camp. Looking out the carriage window, our boy vows that this time he won't be a helpless pawn swept away by the tides of war. Instead, he will climb to the absolute top and rule the era. 1 week later, the 9-year-old Menace arrives at the military training camp and immediately blows the onlookers away. His fierce spear strikes generate massive shockwaves, leaving the older recruits wondering where a mere kid learned such high-level techniques. Despite his impressive display, Damien is frustrated that his young, soft hands are bleeding and lack the tough calluses of his past life. He realizes his current body is still far too weak for the trials ahead. Just then, a camp instructor approaches, complimenting the boy's form and asking where he learned it. Damien holds his breath, wondering if the officer has recognized the technique as the kingdom's greatest spear art. Our boy quickly cooks up a lie, claiming the style was taught to him by his late father who was proud to serve. This completely fools the instructor, who immediately apologizes for bringing up such a sensitive topic. Flustered by the tragic backstory, the officer quickly clears his throat and asks the young recruit's name. Standing at attention, our hero introduces himself as Damien, playing the role of a perfect, humble candidate. Wishing the kid luck, the instructor pats him on the shoulder and walks away. But as the officer leaves, Damien hides his bloodied hand behind his back, keeping his grueling physical limits entirely hidden. Suddenly, a familiar warmth surges through his body as a purple glow erupts around his hand. Damien grins as he realizes his efforts have paid off. He is finally able to channel mana in this new life. With a surge of energy, Damien gathers a glowing purple sphere of mana in his hand. After years of being blocked, the sensation of raw power finally returning to his core brings a grin to the young warrior's face. To optimize his growth, he utilizes the Delft mana cultivation method, a highly efficient technique from 15 years in the future. In his past life, his shattered mana core made it useless, forcing him to memorize it out of desperate hope. Back then, his own squad members mocked him for studying cultivation methods he could never use. But that relentless preparation is about to pay off as he prepares for the upcoming selection trials. Now, the time for theoretical study is over. The immediate hurdle is passing the enlistment exam, and Damien steps forward onto the training grounds, ready to put his new body to the test. As he walks, he recalls a powerful fighter from his past life who began at this very same training camp. But before he can dwell on it, the physical trials begin. The recruits assemble on the dirt field for the first test of raw strength, lifting a heavy 30-kilogram boulder overhead. It is a simple but brutal filter designed to immediately weed out the weak. For the average applicant, it is a grueling strain, but Damien lifts the massive rock effortlessly, earning an immediate pass from the instructors. With 1-star mana supporting his muscles, the physical challenge is trivial. Next, the crowd of applicants is lined up for the second test, a grueling long-distance run. The instructor barks out the rules, setting a strict 1 hour and 30-minute time limit to complete the course. While direct attacks are strictly forbidden, minor collisions are allowed. Damien notices suspicious figures in the crowd, realizing the academy has likely mixed disguised instructors into the pack to enforce the rules and disrupt the runners. As he warms up, a blonde boy approaches, casually mentioning they are in the same group. Damien looks at him, trying to place the boy's face, sensing a strange familiarity. But the stranger gets uncomfortably close. Damien's eyes narrow as he tries to place the boy's face, sensing a strange, dangerous familiarity from his past life. Leaning in, the blonde boy whispers a shocking secret directly into Damien's ear, revealing that he knows the young warrior is already using mana. Damien knows commoners using mana are usually backed by powerful houses, but his suspicions turn to shock when the blonde recruit introduces himself as Apel. See, in his past life, Apel was a legendary figure who rose from commoner roots to become a general and a count by the age of 30. Deciding to play it smart, our boy shakes hands with the future legend. There is no reason to make an enemy of someone this powerful so early in the game. The starting horn blows, and the recruits surge forward into the brutal run. They are immediately charging toward the Academy's hidden gauntlet of disguised instructors waiting in the crowd. Apel suggests hanging back to conserve energy, but that slow and steady strategy does not sit right with Damien, who immediately unleashes his mana and blasts past the pack. The disguised gatekeepers, known as the Wall of Wailing, plan to pace themselves, but they are completely blindsided by a lone recruit charging at them like a runaway train. One cocky instructor steps up to block the path with his massive frame, expecting to crush the kid. Instead, Damien effortlessly slips past the brute before he can even react. The panicked instructors yell to halt him, but these low-level trainers are far too slow to catch a seasoned warrior using refined future movement techniques. Watching the madness unfold, Apel bursts out laughing. Fired up by the challenge, the blonde genius immediately vaults forward at high speed, refusing to let our boy take all the glory. Inspired by their lead, the other applicants try to force their way through as well, only to get absolutely demolished by the enraged instructors. Instructors watch the chaos unfold from the watchtower, debating whether to send reinforcements, however. Head instructor Raymond steps up to shut them down, smiling as he watches our boy disrupt their rigged exam. Raymond recognizes that Damien's bold charge has ignited a fire in the other recruits. In a true war, it is always these rare spark plugs who lead from the front and rewrite the fate of the battlefield. Meanwhile, the grueling race is nearing its end as our boy pushes through his 29th lap. With only one final stretch left, the physical toll is mounting, but his mana-infused body refuses to slow down. Pulling up right beside him, Apel points out the collapsed recruits and asks if Damien planned this chaotic stampede. Our boy simply grins, pointing out that in a real fight, you play the cards you have. Together, the two prodigies blast across the finish line in unison, leaving the stunned supervisors with no choice but to declare them past. Deep within the command halls, a report arrives. Word has spread that a highly unusual recruit has entered the third training camp. The shocking part? The boy is only 13 years old. This catches the eye patch commander's attention. A rookie that strict instructors find interesting is a rare breed. He stands up, demanding to know the boy's name. Back at the camp, the results are posted. While other recruits collapse in despair or scream in joy, our red-haired protagonist stands deadpan, unimpressed by the commotion. Damien remembers the horrific conscription of his past life, making this voluntary enlistment feel like a peaceful luxury. Suddenly, a friendly blonde boy named Apel approaches with congratulations. Apel points out that Damien's name sits right at the very top of the passing list. The two are officially squad mates now, though the future remains highly unpredictable. They have a week before enlistment begins. When asked about his plans, our boy plays it cool, stating he just needs to purchase some essential supplies. Apel warns him to buy heel pads for the rock-hard military boots. Little does he know, Damien already remembers the excruciating pain of blistered feet from his previous life. The boys exchange parting words, but Apel's shifty whistling tells Damien that his new squad mate is hiding secrets of his own as they head out. As soon as Damien is out of sight, the friendly facade vanishes. A hooded, bearded elder slides out of the crowd, addressing the blonde kid as Alan. This mysterious ally questions why he's enlisting, remembering how Damien's massive pool stood out during their run. The game has changed, and the pieces are moving. Apel has his eyes locked on Damien, knowing this rookie holds secrets he cannot easily share, but they will be seeing plenty of each other soon enough. The friendly squad mate is actually a young master in disguise, warning his associate to keep quiet about his identity in public. Back in the capital, our boy walks through a bustling town center. The peaceful atmosphere feels foreign after years of bloody conflict. Damien remembers a time when this exact city was crawling with starving beggars. In 5 years, war will destroy this prosperity, meaning he must prepare immediately. To survive the upcoming onslaught, his immediate target is the Work Merchant Guild. Their supplies will become the ultimate lifeline once the continent catches fire. See, in his past life, the Work Guild was the wealthiest faction on the continent. During a brutal campaign, their relief carriages were the only thing keeping Damien's dying unit alive. When bitter soldiers complained about wealthy merchants profiting off the battlefield, the veteran commander quickly shut them down. Without that food and steel, they were all dead men walking. Beyond their business, the guild funded massive charity efforts. Damien orders his men to gather the supplies, keeping a close eye on the operations. A scout points out the mysterious guildmaster standing in a white robe. It turns out the wealthy benefactor behind the continent's biggest guild was none other than his new squadmate, Alan. Back in the present, the little general narrows down the search. Out of 40 local guilds, only 7 have the capital to fund charity work before the war. After a long search, Damien stands before the final door on his list, ready to make his move. Damien steps inside the final guild on his list, politely introducing himself to a clerk. He plays the role of a young noble looking to invest in their charity projects to test if this is the lead he needs. The gamble pays off. The man introduces himself as Work, the guild master of the Hamel Merchant Guild. Damien realizes he has finally tracked down the right faction. Hoping to find the youth he remembers from the future, Damien asks if Work has a son. But the guild master chuckles, revealing he only has one daughter, threatening to turn this lead into another dead end. Just then, the door flies open. A young blonde girl walks in, and our boy's jaw drops. She is the exact hooded figure he saw leading the relief caravans in his past life. Inside the meeting room, our boy is introduced to a young woman as a potential investor for a local charity project. She greets him warmly, completely unaware of the massive deal he is actually preparing to lay on the table. But Damien is analyzing her every move. He knows the future guildmaster was supposed to be a man, and he instantly deduces she is masquerading to secure her family's legacy. When she politely asks about the size of his initial investment, our young general drops a bomb right out of the gate, offering 300 gold coins to start. The massive sum leaves the hosts completely speechless. Realizing this 13-year-old is no ordinary child, they immediately ask what conditions he expects in return. Damien does not flinch. He demands a share of the Hamel Merchant Guild's future profits, making it clear he wants a piece of their entire operations. Suspicious of a mere kid holding such wealth, the father questions the source of the gold. Our boy smoothly deflects it as an inheritance from his late parents, shutting down any further interrogation. With the deal hanging in the balance, the guild members request a meeting to discuss the terms before giving him a final answer. After the meeting, the father warns his daughter that Damien's eyes show he is a dangerous force. This is a cold-blooded operator, not a normal kid. Still, the old man breaks the tension by teasing her that the boy would make a perfect husband if he were slightly older, causing her to instantly lose her cool. With the negotiations settled, time flies by until enlistment day. Standing before the military academy, Damien resolves to make this new life different and conquer the entire empire. Entering his assigned barracks at the 3rd training camp, our boy scans the room but finds no familiar faces from his past. Just as he settles in, a voice calls out to greet him. Platoon leader Brian steps into the barracks, immediately initiating a strict contraband search. Any rookie caught hiding food, alcohol, or cigarettes is promised a personal hell under his watch. While the other recruits scramble in panic, our boy looks on with pure contempt. In his eyes, bringing forbidden luxury goods to boot camp is a rookie mistake. Brian finds Damien's belongings perfectly clean, but when he asks the boy's age, Damien's calm response of 13 leaves the veteran officer sweating in disbelief. The older rookies immediately start trash-talking, angry that a kid is sharing their barracks. One massive thug tries to intimidate the boy, but Damien ignores the bark. Damien silently marks the bully for future correction, releasing a brief flash of killer intent, so chilling it gives the nearby recruits literal goosebumps. Meanwhile, Brian corners a sweating recruit who claims he has nothing left to hide. One menacing glare from the platoon leader, and the coward frantically dumps his contraband. Brian issues a final brutal warning. Anyone caught smuggling will run the yard all night. Damien watches the panic unfold, satisfied to see the fools get what they deserve. With the inspection over, Brian checks the records to appoint a cadet platoon leader. He needs someone with the highest marks to command the rookies. Brian calls out the top scorer, Damien. Naturally, he assumes the elite recruit must be the biggest, toughest soldier in the room, only to realize he is dead wrong. The truth hits like a hammer when the commander realizes the 13-year-old kid is the top scorer. Instantly, the barracks boils over with rage from the veteran recruits. The giant thug, Kyle, refuses to take orders from a kid. Standing tall, he loudly protests to the instructor, claiming that putting a brat in charge will completely ruin the platoon's discipline. Instead of backing down, the little general smirks. He decides to play along, mockingly telling the bully that he'll easily do a better job than a moron whose brain is filled with nothing but muscles. Before the thug can strike back, the platoon leader steps in, grabbing Kyle with a terrifying surge of killer intent. He warns the giant that insulting fellow soldiers will lead to severe consequences. But the commander agrees that leadership must be proven. Seizing the chance, Kyle proposes a sparring match, declaring that the winner gets to take the cadet platoon leader spot. When asked if he is sure about this, our boy confidently accepts. He decides this is the perfect chance to establish discipline, pointing at the giant and calling him a mere lump of muscle. With the rest of the barracks shouting their approval, the instructor orders everyone to the sparring arena. As the two face off, the battle to establish true authority begins immediately. At the training grounds, the rules are set. A surrender ends the spar, but the giant Kyle immediately mocks his smaller opponent, laughing off the threat of the red-haired cadet. Triggered by the disrespect, the muscular brute charges in a blind rage, aiming to crush the boy's skull with a heavy right hook. But our boy is on a different level. Drawing on decades of combat experience from his previous life, Damien calmly analyzes the charge, effortlessly slipping the punch like it's slow motion. Refusing to back down, the brute tries to transition into a ground slam, but he's simply too slow. In the blink of an eye, the kid general completely disappears from his line of sight. Reappearing right behind his target, Damien delivers a devastating mana-infused strike straight into the giant's ribs. The impact is absolute, buckling the massive fighter instantly. Refusing to accept defeat, Kyle lunges in for one last desperate strike, but it's useless. Our boy dodges the reckless assault and puts him down for good, leaving the giant unconscious in the dirt. With his opponent completely neutralized, the 9-year-old menace dusts off his hands and turns to the crowd. He asks if anyone else wants a turn, but the terrified recruits can only shake their heads. Later, Kyle finally leaves the infirmary. The defeat stings, and the memory of that single crushing mana strike makes him realize just how outclassed he truly was. As he returns to the barracks, the other trainees watch him with sweat pouring down their faces. They know if their hot-headed comrade tries to challenge the new platoon leader again, he won't survive the next encounter. Back in the barracks, the giant Kyle drops to his knees and yields to our boy, pledging to serve him as leader. Damien is completely caught off guard, wondering if he accidentally knocked some screws loose during their spar. But the giant respects raw power, recognizing the 9-year-old menace as the strongest opponent he's faced. Realizing this brute actually has manners, Damien accepts his handshake, establishing a mutual respect that solidifies his position as platoon leader. A week of brutal, high-intensity training flies by to whip the new recruits into shape. Immediately after dismissal, the instructor single-outs Damien, ordering the young general to follow him for an unexpected meeting. Led to the administration office, our boy finds the room already packed with the other platoon leader cadets, all standing at attention and waiting for instructions. Instantly, a loudmouthed cadet starts trash-talking, mocking Damien's skinny build. But our boy doesn't hesitate to fire back, casually questioning the guy's eyesight and instantly triggering a wave of muffled laughter from the other trainees. Before the argument escalates, the commanding officer demands silence. He announces an upcoming inter-platoon group battle in 1 week, serving as a critical midterm evaluation for the leaders to prove their strategic worth. As they're dismissed, the hothead tries to corner Damien, but another cadet steps in to shut down the disrespect. He warns the thug to focus on training his own squad instead of looking for a fight. Walking away from the idiot, Damian reveals he's from the 4th platoon. The thug promises a painful reunion at the upcoming group battle, but our boy just responds with a confident smirk. The cadet walking alongside Damian reveals he heard about his top-tier performance in the practical exam from April. The young general's reputation is clearly beginning to spread through the ranks. Gerard, the leader of the 3rd platoon, challenges our boy to bring his best to the upcoming battle. Back at the barracks, the 9-year-old menace calls his squad to attention. He announces the inter-platoon group battle happening in 1 week. Raising their flag, the young general declares they are taking first place, no matter what. But he has one specific target in mind. The little general plans to completely crush the 4th platoon, making a chilling throat-slit gesture to promise absolute destruction for their rival leader. Training enters its 2nd week. The instructor announces that the focus is now on group formations, promising extra points for top performers. For Damian, these points are the ticket to his preferred military branch. Today's lesson is the wedge formation, a high-risk offensive drill shaped like a giant arrow. It packs devastating power, but only if the vanguard spearhead holds. Luckily, our boy already has the perfect guy in mind for the job. The instructor orders the recruits to split and square off. Sending his rival Kyle to lead the opposing side, the red-haired prodigy gathers his team. To gain their trust, he claims his soldier father taught him the tactical secrets of the wedge. Whispering a modified strategy, Damian places the strongest recruits directly behind him and shields on the flanks. With a solid, unorthodox wall established, the squad locks their shields and prepares to execute the plan. Across the field, the opposition sets up a heavily defensive stance, but Damian isn't worried. The instructor signals the start of the match, and our boy leads a highly coordinated march, keeping his squad in perfect sync. As they close the distance, Damian orders them to pick up the pace. Secretly channeling his refined mana core, the spearman clashes directly into the front lines, single-handedly matching the enemy's momentum. Instead of brute-forcing the shields, Damian yells for his team to attack the gaps. The sudden target shift throws the defenders into a panic, fracturing their coordinated defense. Seeing the opening, the little general commands a swift strike, ordering his squad to jab their wooden spears low. In seconds, the opposing line collapses, sent crashing down in total defeat. As Kyle desperately tries to rally his collapsing defensive line, Damian closes the distance in a flash. With a sudden shield bash, the red-haired prodigy intercepts his rival directly. The hulking Kyle demands Damian get out of his way, but our boy has other plans. Shifting his weight in a clean, fluid motion, the little general redirects Kyle's brute force, sending the giant crashing to the dirt. Looking down at his defeated rival, Damian calmly advises him to use his head, instead of just relying on raw power. The display leaves the surrounding recruits completely speechless, unable to believe this kid is just another rookie. The instructor officially declares victory for Damian's squad. Even in defeat, Kyle shows respect, offering a firm handshake and swearing to win next time, while the rest of the team crowds around their new tactician. Later that evening, the victory bears fruit. Instead of rushing back to the barracks to rest, the recruits stay behind to analyze the match, filling Damian with pride as he watches his squad's morale soar. But the peaceful moment doesn't last. A group of rival trainees from Squad 4 walks by, loudly mocking Damian's leadership and calling his followers fools. Damian's squad mates immediately take offense, but the instigators double down. The smug Squad 4 leader sneers, claiming the real issue is a kid who doesn't know his place acting like a big shot. Although Damian is tempted to teach them a lesson, he decides it's better to let it go and crush them during the upcoming official competition. He orders a retreat, but his squad isn't having it. Driven by loyalty to their young commander, Damian's team explodes with rage, trading fierce threats with the agitators. Even the hot-headed Kyle joins in, burning with a desire to rip Squad 4 apart. Fired up by the insult, the entire squad agrees to skip rest and train even harder. Watching his team bond over their shared hatred for the enemy, a sinister smirk creeps onto the little general's face. Inside the training camp office, Company Commander Barracks asks Chief Instructor Raymond if any new recruits show promise. The instructor reveals two remarkably young rookies stand out from the rest. Though both boys come from completely ordinary backgrounds, they somehow know how to manipulate mana. This baffling anomaly immediately raises red flags, since mana cultivation is usually far too expensive for commoners to afford. The instructor then reports the recent confrontation between the squads. Learning that Squad 1 has fully united behind the young Damien, the commander finds the rookie leader's sudden influence highly intriguing. Concocting a risky proposal on the spot, the commander whispers a new directive. When the instructor warns it might backfire, the cold-hearted commander dismisses the concern, stating it will prove their limits. To test their solidarity, the commander orders the training intensity for both Squad 1 and Squad 4 cranked to the absolute maximum. Out on the field, the unsuspecting recruits suddenly shiver with an ominous sense of dread. Back at the barracks, the recruits are already hitting their limit, as rumors of brutal crawling drills sweep through the room. While the others panic over the incoming torture, they turn to the one boy who seems completely unfazed. Our boy Damien steps up, shutting down their complaints with cold hard facts. If they survive this hell, their stamina will lap the other platoons. It's a calculated struggle, not just senseless punishment. Shamed by a kid's resolve, the older recruits lock in their pride. Still, the dread of tearing their flesh raw on the open gravel remains all too real. When asked if he's done this before, Damien's response is simple. He has. See, in his past life, survival meant staying pressed to the dirt. But he knows this training isn't just about physical conditioning. The real test is psychological. Once the recruits are covered in blood and bruises, their nerves will fray, and the platoon will tear itself apart. It's a setup to see who fractures first. Refusing to let his team fall into that trap, the young general orders everyone to grab their supply socks. The recruits have no idea what he has planned, but they've learned to listen. With a confident smirk, the red-haired prodigy prepares to turn basic military gear into their ultimate secret weapon. In a brutal war of attrition, even the smallest tactical edge can save a soldier's life. Out on the training field, Instructor Nilsson lays down the law. Crawling drills are starting early, and the recruits are ordered to keep their spears straight while dragging themselves through the dirt. The target is a brutal barbed wire obstacle course. But while the instructor expects fear, the first platoon answers with absolute, burning resolve that catches him off guard. As the whistle blows, the recruits dive forward. Nilsson knows this gravel is meant to shred their skin and break their spirits, expecting a slow, painful struggle from the rookies. But in an instant, his jaw hits the floor. The recruits aren't struggling. They are flying through the sharp terrain at a terrifying speed, leaving the instructor completely dumbfounded. The instructor can barely process what he's seeing and commands the next group to move out immediately. Behind the scenes, the genius plan is laid bare. By wrapping their knees and elbows with cut-up supply socks, the rookies created makeshift pads that shielded them from the gravel. With the first drill cleared, the squad marches back to the barracks in high spirits. When asked where he learned such a useful trick, our boy credits his late father, who left him with one golden rule. That rule? Never get caught by the instructor. While his squad mates laugh off the close call, Damien focuses on what lies ahead, learning the kingdom's greatest spear art. See, in his past life, this spear art was Damien's only ticket to survival. After years of training, he eventually met a master he hopes to encounter once again in this timeline, even if the man was a total nutcase. Back in the hallway, the consequences of Damien's strategy become clear. The 4th platoon returns from the gravel pit completely broken, their raw nerves causing them to turn on each other in a shouting match. While the rival squad fractures under the stress, the 1st platoon watches the drama unfold, realizing they would have suffered the exact same fate without their makeshift safety gear. The contrast only fuels the flames of jealousy. Seeing Damien's unit smiling and completely fine, the exhausted rival squad leaders suspect a dirty trick. Anger boils over as a rival squad leader clenches his fist, swearing to crush Damien's platoon and take first place in the upcoming competition. But the red-haired prodigy remains entirely unfazed. Days pass quickly, and the morning of the highly anticipated platoon competition finally arrives. All 4 groups assemble in neat ranks, ready to prove their worth on the battlefield. As they line up, the hulking giant Kyle senses something different about our boy. He can't put his finger on it, but Damien's presence has shifted. It's no illusion. The night before, the red-haired prodigy finally pushed his secret mana cultivation to the 2-star stage, significantly boosting his reserves through tireless meditation. With his new power unlocked, Damien locks eyes with his giant ally and delivers a cold mandate. They aren't just going to win, they are going to obliterate the competition. See, the top 5 soldiers get their pick of the camp's armory. While most rookies chase basic C-rank protection gear, the young general has his eyes set on a much greater prize. Using knowledge from his past life, he aims for a hidden, permanent ability ring of A-rank status. But to claim it, he must secure absolute first place before his rival Apel can snatch it away. To secure that victory, Damien recruits Kyle to rally the squad. The giant immediately hypes up the platoon, igniting a fiery determination that unites the entire unit. With their spirits burning, the call to battle rings out. The first platoon steps forward, ready to dominate their very first match and claim the path to victory. At the training grounds, the platoon competition kicks off with a brutal offensive and defensive split. A single mistake means an automatic loss, raising the stakes to the absolute limit. But our boy Damien isn't worried. The young menace rallies his squad to stick to the plan, reminding them of the countless hours they spent drilling in the dirt. The signal echoes across the field and the battle begins. The opposing platoon charges with a roar, expecting an easy breakthrough, but they crash headfirst into a solid wall of shields. Onlookers watch in shock as the defensive line holds firm. Suddenly, the command to push is given. Leading the charge, Kyle slams forward, physically overpowering the attackers and sending their line into chaos. The enemy commander panics as his offensive squad is driven backward. Kyle goes completely feral, plowing through their front lines with pure brute force. Demanding his teammates rally to his side, the giant recruit pushes their advantage even deeper, relentlessly shattering the enemy's defensive wall to secure a total breakthrough. With the enemy reeling from the shock, the little general spots a fatal opening. Damien orders a full platoon charge, capitalizing on the disruption. Even the instructors can't believe their eyes, noting that these basic recruits are performing like elite soldiers under Damien's command. See, Damien's secret weapon was the extra training he ran after hours, drilling them tirelessly on shield formations to ensure complete battlefield dominance. Now it's time to seal the victory. Damien signals the final assault, and Kyle breaks through the last line to target the enemy flag bearer. The defensive line braces for impact, but the enemy thinks they have this match in the bag. Smirking behind his shield, the opposing leader claims they've fallen right into a trap, sending a sudden wave of panic through the recruits. But Kyle was just the bait. Using his teammates' back as a springboard, Damien launches himself into the air, soaring over the defense to strike down the enemy flag bearer in a single, devastating leap. With the enemy leader face down in the dirt and the time limit reached, the referee calls the match. The first platoon secures a flawless victory, cementing Damien's reputation as a tactical genius. While the crowd expects Damien's squad to sweep the entire tournament, the instructors spot a dangerous dark horse in the brackets. Pointing to the adjacent arena, they watch another platoon demonstrating high-level battlefield coordination. Over in the next bracket, the third platoon is locked in a fierce struggle against the fourth. But the fourth platoon is completely falling apart from within, as their coward leader barks orders from the back while his front line collapses. Seeing their disarray, a third platoon recruit suggests a full breakthrough, but the blonde prodigy Apel shuts it down. He knows they only need to hold the line, letting the enemy's terrible teamwork destroy their own stamina. Following Apel's strategy, the defensive wall holds firm against the desperate, chaotic strikes of the fourth platoon. Deprived of patience and running on empty, the enemy shieldmen begin to drop from sheer exhaustion. With the enemy front line broken, the order to counterattack is given. The third platoon surges forward, completely shattering the remaining defense as their commander calls on Apel to finish the job. The young prodigy sprints ahead with deadly speed, stepping directly onto the enemy's shields to launch a decisive leap over their line. Launching off the shields, the blonde prodigy spins through the air like a hurricane, unleashing a swift and decisive strike that completely shatters the enemy line. The opposing leader screams in panic, realizing they stand no chance of facing Damien's squad. In the distance, our boy looks on calmly as the match is officially called, securing the victory for the 3rd platoon. Watching Apel celebrate with his squad, Damien recognizes the threat. The blonde genius is definitely not ordinary, but instead of backing down, the little general lets out a confident smirk, eager to face him in the finals. At the training grounds, the call for the next group battle rings out. Kyle wants payback against the 4th platoon, but our boy Damien tells him to stay focused on simply clearing the way. Even though the exhausted opponents are completely out of sync, the little general has no intention of showing mercy. He wants a fast, decisive blowout. The platoon is fully locked in and fired up to end this clash in a flash, ready to follow their leader straight into the meat grinder. Red flag stands against blue flag. As the official signal finally sounds, both lines brace themselves for immediate impact, their eyes locked onto the prize. Both sides charge across the dry dirt. Damien immediately spots how sloppy the enemy's square formation is, smiling as he prepares to shatter it to pieces. Kyle leads the charge, crashing through the shield line like a runaway truck. The opposing leader can only watch in horror as his defenses immediately disintegrate. Desperate to keep his formation from collapsing, the enemy commander yells to defend the flag, but Damien uses his ally as a launching pad, flying straight for his target. With a brutal kick to the face, our boy sends the opposing commander crashing to the ground, leaving him gasping and kneeling in the dirt. Refusing to accept defeat, the humiliated leader grabs his spear and lunges forward for a desperate one-on-one duel, but Damien easily reads the attack. Our boy mocks his opponent for dropping his weapon, tossing away his own shield with absolute disdain. In a real battle, losing your grip on a weapon is nothing short of a death sentence. Damien delivers a crushing strike, pinning the defeated leader to the dirt. With cold, glowing red eyes, he makes it clear that showing weakness on the battlefield gets you killed. Harnessing his power, the little general prepares a final lesson, delivering a brutal, magic-infused punch directly to the commander's face. The commander lies unconscious in the dirt. Damien walks away, completely bored by the lack of a challenge, as the referee calls the match, and the 1st platoon hoists the victory flag. While Kyle and the rest of the platoon celebrate their flawless victory, the onlookers are left speechless, wondering how a mere 13-year-old could possess such terrifying martial prowess. Even the instructors admit that this kid might already surpass them. But the atmosphere suddenly shifts as a legendary figure arrives. The one-eyed training instructor from the 3rd Division, Leonhardt Belkane. The instructors quickly salute their superior. As the platoon celebrates their triumph, Leonhardt sets his sights on the young prodigy, intrigued by the rumor of a rare talent joining the ranks. Back in the barracks, a cadet bursts in with urgent news about the legendary VIP visiting the camp. When Damien asks for the instructor's name, his ally struggles to recall the exact title. When the cadet pieces the name together as Leonhardt, Damien freezes, his eyes wide in sudden shock as he whispers the name of the man he clearly recognizes. Without saying a word, our boy bolts out of the room and sprints down the hallway, leaving his confused comrades completely in the dark. Damien sprints down the hall, desperate to confirm the visitor's identity with his own eyes. He rounds the corner and freezes instantly as the legendary instructor appears right before him. Leonhardt immediately recognizes the young prodigy, prompting the guide to call Damien over. Our boy quickly snaps to attention, delivering a crisp salute to show respect to the military titan. When the towering commander asks to confirm his identity, the little general responds with quiet respect. Meeting him this early is a total shock, as the 3rd Division is usually stationed far from here. Staring up at the legendary one-eyed warrior, Damien realizes he is face to face with the man who had the greatest impact on his past life, his future master. Inside the training camp, the one-eyed instructor corners our boy Damien. Having heard nothing but praise from Raymond, the seasoned veteran sizes up the young recruit, demanding to know what division he plans to join once graduation arrives. Without a shred of hesitation, the 13-year-old prodigy requests the Neocalit's unit. The room freezes. It is the absolute deadliest division in the army, a monster-slaying meat grinder in the Bronzerian forest where recruits go to die. But boy wants raw power. Sensing the kid's absolute resolve, the instructor offers a rare recommendation letter to the prestigious Knight's Order. But Damien instantly rejects the golden ticket, declaring he has a personal mission to meet someone in the dangerous 3rd Division. As the boy departs, a frantic officer calls him a fool for throwing away a noble's opportunity. Yet the veteran instructor shuts him down immediately, having seen the terrifying, cold glare in the young spearman's eyes. Laughing at the kid's sheer audacity, the veteran warns his subordinate not to interfere with the boy's path. If the young monster is truly heading to the 3rd Division, their paths are bound to cross on the battlefield soon enough. The very next day, it is time for Platoon 1 to face Platoon 3 in a tactical mock battle. While the enemy looks imposing, Damien rallies his squad, confidently declaring that no one in this camp stands a chance against them. The signal sounds and the mock battle erupts. The opposing platoon deploys a heavily fortified shield wall, the exact same unbreakable defense they used to crush their opponents the day before. As the two sides crash together in a brutal shield lock, Damien signals his secret weapon, calling out to the blonde recruit, April. The clash intensifies as the enemy expects the same predictable frontal assault. But the spearman's squad pulls off a shocking tactical maneuver, deliberately splitting their own shield wall. The enemy commander gasps in horror as April stands completely unguarded in the center, ready to unleash a lethal strike. The blonde prodigy immediately makes his move, delivering a crushing blow that shatters the defense. The enemy commander looks on in absolute shock as Platoon 1 prepares to capitalize on this massive opening. But the path forward is suddenly blocked by their giant shield bearer, Kyle. Unleashing an absurd display of raw power, the beast holds the line single-handedly, forcing the opposing squad to a grinding halt. See, the enemy commander anticipated this threat, ordering Kyle to focus entirely on neutralizing the blonde menace. With their entire defense hinging on this single matchup, the Giants' only job is to keep the spearmen locked down. But April isn't planning to play nice. Knowing he can't win this battle through simple muscle, the young spearman channels his blue mana, wrapping his weapon in a crackling aura of pure energy. He launches a blistering assault, hammering the giant shield-bearer with relentless speed. The sheer impact splinters Kyle's defenses, forcing the Titan to abandon his posture and leave the commander wide open. As April leaps in for the finishing strike, a shield suddenly intercepts the blow out of nowhere. It's our boy Damien, stepping into the fray with a cold, calculated look that stops the attacker dead in his tracks. Before either side can make another move, the whistle blares across the field. Time has run out, and Platoon 3 loses the first round for failing to secure the flag within the strict limit. Frustrated that he couldn't end it quickly, the blonde spearman retreats, while Damien immediately checks on the battered Kyle. Despite the giant insisting he can keep fighting, the young commander orders him to fall back. Damien commands him to guard the flag in the center instead, protecting both the team's objective and his allies' pride. As the whistle blows to switch positions, it's time for our boy's platoon to take the offensive. Rallying his exhausted squad for the final round, our boy Damien makes a daring declaration. He refuses to waste time on a slow siege, giving his team a strict 5-minute deadline to storm the enemy and capture their flag. At the training grounds, the final platoon competition is set to begin. Damien stands ready with his men, determined to show the instructors exactly what he is capable of under his own name. Across the field stands Platoon 3, with the exhausted but deadly April guarding the flag. Damien knows there is no way around this. A direct confrontation is inevitable if he wants victory. The starting horn blows, and our boy orders an immediate all-out charge. Platoon 1 advances at a terrifying speed without breaking their formation, catching the defenders completely off guard. Damien slides low to close the distance, channeling raw mana to launch a devastating thrust. The strike shatters the defender's shield like glass, blowing the front line wide open. Our protagonist yells for his squad to press the advantage. The enemies desperately try to spear him from all sides, but he effortlessly weaves through the incoming attacks. With a brutal sweeping strike, Damien takes out their legs and orders his squad to regroup. Platoon 1 immediately follows up, slamming their shields into the disarrayed defenders. As the defense crumbles, the opponents realize they cannot stop Platoon 1's momentum. Seeing no other choice, the young prodigy April steps forward to defend the flag himself. This is the final showdown against the future Grand General, April Van Striol. With a powerful aura flare, the blonde kid leaps into the air to clash spears with Damien. Damien sizes up the prodigy, recognizing this duel as his ultimate chance to test his limits. Apel launches a quick feint, but our boy reads the trick instantly, bracing himself as the real strike comes flying in. The spears clash with violent force. Refusing to back down, the little general floods his weapon with raw, surging mana, delivering a brutal counter strike that completely shatters the prodigy's spear. Apel scrambles back in sheer disbelief, sweating as he realizes a mere commoner possesses such monstrous mana control. Looking at Damien, he feels as if he is facing an insurmountable wall. Damien closes the distance to end the fight, channeling everything into one final, overwhelming thrust. Apel braces himself, but the purple-clad spear strike pierces straight through his guard. The impact blows the prodigy off his feet, crashing him hard into the dirt. As Apel lies defeated and groaning, our protagonist sprints past him, heading straight for the objective. Damien grabs the blue banner and raises it high, securing Platoon 1's hard-fought victory to the cheers of his men. Walking over to the frustrated blonde kid, our boy offers a hand of respect. Apel accepts it, acknowledging the defeat but swearing he won't lose the next time they cross paths. Damien smiles, suggesting they fight on the same side next time. He knows this defeat will only push Apel to become a greater monster, but for now he chooses to celebrate. Watching from the sidelines, the instructors decide to let the recruits enjoy their triumph before the final weeks of training resume. Platoon 1 hoists their leader high in celebration. Recruits celebrate their squad competition victory with a massive feast of steak and chicken. Amidst the chaos of hungry soldiers stuffing their faces, Damien quietly reflects on his master's sudden departure, wishing they had more time to talk. The vibe changes when an instructor joins the table, asking if Damien is still turning down Leonhardt's rare offer. Damien stands firm on his decision, but the instructor isn't done dropping news just yet. The instructor reveals that Afel was also offered a spot in the prestigious Knight Order. Damien remains completely unbothered, declaring he'll respect whatever choice his comrade makes, leaving the instructor to call him a boring kid. Raising a glass, the instructor toasts to their hard work over the past 2 weeks, warning them that training resumes tomorrow. With a final cry of glory to the kingdom, time flies straight into the grueling final week of training. On the training field, recruits thrust their spears with newfound intensity. Damien notes that the squad competition acted as a massive catalyst, completely transforming the drive and attitude of the entire 3rd training camp before a brief break is called. During the break, Kyle approaches our boy with some fresh gossip. Apparently, the 4th platoon's morale has completely collapsed since their defeat, with their cowardly squad leader bailing the second the competition ended. Damien cuts the laughter short, reminding Kyle that individual scores are what actually matter now. If they want to secure the highly coveted, cutthroat position of a royal palace administrator, they have to maintain absolute focus. Panic sets in as Kyle grabs Damien's collar, dreading the thought of competing against him for a palace spot. But Damien calmly reveals he has no intention of going to the palace, leaving Kyle completely dumbfounded. Damien scoffs at the idea of being locked inside the royal palace. He tells a stunned Kyle that a wild card like him would end up dying of pure boredom in a desk job. When Kyle asks where he actually wants to go, our boy drops a massive bombshell. He plans to join the infamous Neocolits, causing a wave of shock to ripple through the entire platoon. Tired of the shouting, the spear genius delivers a swift kick to Kyle's leg. But instead of getting angry, the loudmouth recruit just laughs it off, admiring Damien's absolute madness. With break time officially over, the recruits dive straight back into their final drills, pushing their bodies to the limit as the camp draws to a close. Just like that, discharge day arrives. Standing in neat formations, the recruits listen to the commander's final speech, reflecting on a grueling month of training that flew by in a flash. The troops snap to attention and salute their commander. With the ceremony winding down, the instructor prepares to announce the top 5 trainees who excelled above the rest. No surprises here. Damien clinches the absolute top spot, with Afel, Kyle, Gerard, and Alex following close behind. The Elite 5 stand proud as their names echo across the courtyard. Their reward is a trip to the Royal Armory to choose any single piece of equipment. As the undisputed number 1, our spear prodigy gets first pick and wastes no time stepping inside. Damien scans the shelves, ignoring the standard weapons and common potions. He knows exactly what he's looking for, and it isn't some ordinary piece of gear. Using crucial info from his past life, he tracks down a seemingly plain ring. This hidden treasure possesses a devastating secret, the power of brief invisibility when infused with mana. Damien steps out of the armory, knowing the other recruits won't even notice the magical ring without mana. He watches Aphel step in next, remembering that in his past life, his rival was the one who claimed this very ring. Aphel emerges from the vault surprisingly fast, catching our boy completely off guard. When Gerard asks what's wrong, Damien quickly brushes it off, but his mind is already racing. In Aphel's hands is a metallic seal bearing the crest of a long-forgotten kingdom. The shock hits Damien hard as he finally realizes how his comrade might have acquired his mysterious mana control. The trial is over, and the trainees gather their spoils. While the others secure standard gear like spears and shields, Damien has his sights set on something far more deceptive. The instructor questions his choice, pointing out that his ring only reduces body weight. But Damien has other plans, slipping the artifact onto his finger to test its effects. Sprinting across the yard, he realizes the truth. This isn't some common trash. It's a hidden A-rank artifact that grants both extreme speed and absolute invisibility. Back inside, the time has come to choose their postings. While the others aim for safety, our boy doesn't hesitate, immediately writing down the Neocalit's unit. The instructor is stunned, wishing a talent like Damien would join the prestigious Knight Order instead. Knowing the extreme danger of the front lines, he warns the young spearman to stay alert. In the hallway, Apel confronts him, demanding to know why someone of his caliber is throwing away a guaranteed spot in the Knight Order. Damien simply smiles and validates his friend's path. With a final firm handshake, the two former comrades promise to survive and meet again on the battlefield. Watching him walk away, Damien recalls the future where Apel rises to become the Grand General of the Baroque Kingdom, but for now he must say his final goodbyes to the rest of the squad. Before our boy can slip away quietly, his broad-shouldered squad mate catches him in a bear hug. The soldier grins, dropping a cryptic hint that they will be crossing paths again much sooner than Damien expects. With the entire barracks looking on, the young spearman addresses his platoon one last time. He thanks them for their loyalty during training, prompting a chorus of cheers as his comrades wish him luck on the front. Stepping out of the military base with his gear packed, Damien is suddenly flagged down by a familiar voice. It is Deal, the representative of the Hamel Merchant Guild, waiting outside to finalize their business deal. Inside the guild office, Deal presents a meticulously organized breakdown of their investment funds. Our boy flips through the documents, genuinely impressed by how professionally the young merchant has managed his capital. To Deal's absolute shock, Damien waives the need for a detailed contract. He boldly states that contracts are only for people who expect disputes, choosing instead to place absolute trust in her loyalty. But the real shock comes when he hands over the physical chest. Expecting the agreed-upon 300 gold, Deal opens the container only to find a blinding hoard of over 500 gold coins. Damien explains the extra cash is a token of appreciation. He respects that she took him seriously as a business partner instead of dismissing him because of his youthful appearance. The conversation shifts to the future when Deal asks about his military posting. The moment Damien reveals he volunteered for the notorious Neocalit's unit, the merchant's face turns pale with dread. Our boy casually jokes that if he dies, the guild gets to keep his massive investment. But Deal doesn't find the humor in it, shooting him a razor-sharp glare that proves she is more than just a sweet face. Regaining her composure, she asks when he leaves for the front lines. With his fate sealed, Damien quietly reveals he departs in just 3 days. With their business concluded, the young merchant bows and departs. Our boy takes a quiet moment to appreciate a job well done. His financial future is officially secure. But with only 3 days left before he's shipped off to the front lines, Damien decides to enjoy his remaining freedom. He spends his final days gorging on meat, drinking until he drops, and sleeping out in the open. Once his brief vacation ends, the young spearman packs his gear and marches into the wilderness. But just as he prepares to head deeper into the territory, he senses a heavy presence trailing behind him. It's his hulking squadmate Kyle, carrying a massive pack and grinning ear to ear. The brute casually reveals he volunteered for the Neo-Calit's unit as well, refusing to let their bond end here. Smiling, Damien welcomes his first true ally on the path ahead. Just as Damien and his large companion prepare to set off on their long journey, a voice calls out to them. It is the blonde merchant woman who rushed to catch them before their departure. Knowing that their destination at the Neo-Calit's unit is far away, she surprises them with a fully stocked carriage, complete with rations and survival gear for the harsh road ahead. She plays it off as repaying her debts, but Damien's giant partner quickly realizes that this merchant is playing a long game, securing a future alliance with the young talent. Damien sees right through her lie and laughs it off. With their farewells exchanged, the duo boards the carriage and prepares for the grueling path to the front lines. The carriage rolls out, heading toward the rugged border region of Urkal. The journey is so violent and bumpy that it leaves the giant warrior completely seasick, gasping for air inside the cabin. As they finally pass the guarded town gates, the streets are eerily empty. Damien explains that the local villagers are likely out in the dangerous forest, foraging for a toxic herb known as amancho. Although amancho causes severe sickness, it is highly valued as a base ingredient for painkillers, forcing the locals to risk monster-infested woods before Damien and his ally head to the military base. Walking through the eerie, silent streets, they finally lay eyes on a decrepit, foggy stone fort. Suddenly, Damien stops dead in his tracks as the sharp scent of fresh blood hits his nose. Out from the thick fog, a group of battle-worn, bloodied soldiers emerges. Bearing the grim emblem of the Neo-Calit's unit, these exhausted men walk like ghosts, signaling the brutal reality of their new posting. Wounded soldiers drag themselves through the stone gates like walking corpses. The atmosphere is heavy, and Kyle is immediately taken aback by their ghastly appearance. His companion shivers, comparing the battered squad to ghosts, but Damien warns him to get used to the sight because on this brutal front line, every day is a desperate struggle to survive. Seeing their hollow eyes triggers a memory in Damien. He recalls addressing his old squad in a past life, asking them what a soldier's primary duty really is. The recruits shout typical answers about honor and killing enemies, but Damien immediately smacks one down. He tells them point blank that the only duty that matters is surviving. He ordered them to hold on to their lives at all costs, drilling the harsh reality of war into their heads. But that memory carries a bitter sting. Despite his warnings, every single one of those recruits ended up in a grave anyway. Shaking off the past, the young spearman orders his companion to march inside. Kyle hesitates, completely unnerved by the grim atmosphere, but Damien refuses to waste a single second standing around. Inside the fortress, fury boils over as a bloodied soldier thrashes his gear. They were sent into an ambush of 30 orcs led by a mage, leaving one of their comrades clinging to a mangled arm. For this penal unit, a discharge is a death sentence. Sent here to avoid court-martial, these men have no future if they are thrown out crippled and penniless. Commander Taran steps forward, ordering a temple priest to heal the wounded. Knowing the outrageous cost of divine healing, the crew complains their meager pay won't cover it, but Taran drops a heavy bag of 20 gold onto the table. The men are shocked, realizing this was the cash saved for Taran's own mother's surgery. Inspired by his selflessness, the soldiers start pooling their own coins to save their brother in arms. Even the rookie, Dianel, steps forward to offer his meager savings. Despite being yelled at to replace his own tattered gear, the guilt-ridden kid begs to help, admitting his comrade was maimed trying to protect him. Moved by the boy's devotion, Commander Taran sends a messenger to fetch a healer before turning to the 18-year-old. He pats the young soldier's shoulder, acknowledging the grit it takes to survive a full year in this hellhole. Suddenly, the tense silence is shattered. A soldier bursts through the doors to report that the new recruits have finally arrived, catching the commander completely off guard amidst the chaos of the recent ambush. Putting a friendly arm around Dianal, Taran guides him toward the barracks entrance. The commander is ready to size up the fresh blood who just walked into their outpost. Inside the office, the unit commander eyes the fresh arrivals. The massive recruit, Kyle, looks built for war, but the commander's gaze quickly shifts to the smaller figure standing right beside him. 13 years old. Damien confirms his age without flinching. The commander can't comprehend why a mere child would volunteer for a brutal battlefield like Neo-Calit's. Kyle steps up, noting our boy graduated first in his training class. But in this meat grinder, academy ranks mean absolutely nothing, and the commander makes sure they know it. The commander orders their guide, Dianal, to assign them bunks and put them to work. The rookies gather their gear and follow the senior soldier down the cold stone corridor. As they walk, Dianal lays down the harsh reality. There are no ranks in Neo-Calit's besides the commander and vice commander. Everything else is decided solely by survival seniority. Dianal gestures toward the messy barracks, telling them to pick any locker, but his ominous warning that they won't need them for long immediately puts Kyle on high alert. Without warning, Dianal delivers a brutal kick, dropping Kyle to the floor. The veteran reveals a chilling truth. He's been here a year, and every single recruit who arrived after him is already dead. While Kyle groans in anger, Damien actually smiles. Returning to this unforgiving lifestyle feels exactly like his past life. To him, nothing has changed, and the danger only makes him feel at home. Instead of complaining, the 13-year-old menace grabs a rag and tells his partner it is time to clean. He treats this basic chore as their very first official mission. Damien demands absolute perfection, telling Kyle to make it clean enough to lick, which only infuriates the big guy even more. Meanwhile, over at the unit's military store, Dianal sits in deep thought, waiting to see if these rookies will actually survive the night. Dianal relives the trauma of Neo-Calit's. The front lines are a meat grinder, where showing care for newbies only ends in heartbreak. One tiny slip, and a comrade is dead on the field. Over time, the veteran learned to shut down his emotions, ignoring the rookies because they are all destined for the grave anyway. But Damien is different. Dianal can't shake the feeling that the boy somehow knew him, a thought that consumes him even while running errands. When the local shopkeeper mentions seeing the helpless new juniors, Dianal realizes they're already the talk of the camp and prepares to head back. He resolves to break their spirits immediately. In a place this brutal, pride and confidence will only get them killed. But as he opens the barracks door, his jaw drops. Inside, the room is spotless. Damien welcomes him back with a polite smile, while the other veterans look on in absolute disbelief. Our boy asks for a final inspection, leaving the senior soldier sweating. Dianal wonders if this level of perfection is actually a passive-aggressive rebellion. Suddenly, a booming laugh echoes through the room. The unit commander stands there, smiling at the pristine barracks, a sight the other men have never seen before. The commander calls the rookies forward, demanding to know why they worked so hard. With a straight face, Damien plays it perfectly, claiming they were just following Dianal's strict orders. The scare-faced commander silently sizes up the recruits. He knows the giant Kyle just needs a little polish to become a weapon, but the 13-year-old mastermind is a complete mystery he can't read at all. Stopping his analysis, the commander addresses the entire barracks. He pulls both rookies forward, announcing them as the unit's newest members and commanding the veterans to make them feel welcome. While his partner sweats under the pressure of the room's gaze, our boy simply smiles. He is exactly where he belongs, ready to conquer the battlefield. Stuck in the grim trenches of his past life, a young Damien lies awake alongside his comrade, who quietly asks when this endless meat grinder of a war will finally reach its end. Though Damien gave no promise of survival, his brother-in-arms would ultimately fall first, leaving him to survive the slaughter alone by butchering his way through the enemy ranks. Waking up from the bitter memory back in the present, the spearman realizes sleep is out of the question and heads into the dark woods to train, only to spot someone else already swinging a weapon. It is Dianal, grinding through sword drills with a massive blade that is completely incompatible with his natural speed and strength. Deciding it is too early to interfere and risk losing the warrior's fragile trust, our boy slips away into the shadows. The next morning, the recruits gather beneath a brutal mountain range for stamina training, where the veterans immediately start wagering silver coins on how quickly the new blood will collapse. While the other rookies fume at the blatant disrespect, the reborn warrior calmly steps out of line and marches straight toward the gambling veterans. With a confident smirk, the red-haired menace flips a gold coin and boldly raises the stakes, betting that he will crush every single veteran in the drills and take first place. The veteran soldiers laugh off the challenge, raising the stakes by demanding a month of laundry duty if our boy fails. But instead of backing down, Damien uses their arrogance to push the gamble even further. He calmly demands a month of complete freedom during official training hours if he wins, sending shockwaves of disbelief through the skeptical crowd. Before the veterans can reject the absurd terms, the unit captain steps in to accept the bet, dragging the talented Dianal into the race to make things interesting. Though Dianal tries to dismiss the match as a waste of coin, the scarred commander flips him a silver to cover the entry fee. The captain officially seals the deal, promising Damien his free time while threatening the veterans with hellish punishment if they lose to a rookie. Fearing the captain's wrath, the seniors lock their sights on crushing the red-haired recruit. But this is exactly what the reborn warrior wanted. To break the hopeless, toxic atmosphere eating away at the punishment unit, he must force them to fight for their pride. With the stakes set, the captain kicks off a brutal stamina drill, ordering everyone to lug heavy wooden logs all the way to the mountain peak. As the grueling climb begins, the complaining veterans struggle uphill, reassuring themselves that the untested rookies will collapse under the crushing weight of the massive logs. But when one veteran looks back, the red-haired menace is nowhere to be found, because he is already sprinting up the steep cliffs like a madman. Using his newly acquired ring to magically lighten the load, Damien effortlessly scales the rocky terrain with a smug grin, leaving the veterans far below eating his dust. Glancing back, the reborn spearman notes the rest of the pack is falling far behind. Only Dianal manages to keep pace, grit and sweat fueling his climb. Our boy reaches the top with a casual smirk, but the easy victory is cut short as a sudden shout shatters the mountain air. A frantic soldier points back down to the unit barracks, where a red flag is hoisted. It is a Grade 1 emergency, throwing the entire training ground into chaos. At the fortress, a red flag rises to signal immediate danger. Reports flood in that multiple fatalities have just occurred deep inside the restricted Bronzerian forest. The commander demands answers, only to learn the victims were local herb gatherers protected by 6 mercenaries. With no survivor accounts, the type and scale of the threat remain entirely unknown. Refusing to wait, the commander orders immediate mobilization, cutting down their force to 50 active soldiers. As the intervals between monster attacks shrink, he senses the forest itself is changing. In the courtyard, the commander prepares to lead the squad out, but our boy Damien steps forward to volunteer. Despite the commander's instant rejection, the young spearman refuses to back down. Damien proposes they serve only as porters in the rear. Reluctantly, the commander yields to their persistence, ordering Dianal to hand over the spare equipment to the recruits. As they load up, Dianal warns Damien that the forest harbors a demon. He recounts witnessing a single demon orc easily crush a massive iron wolf, a monster that normally requires 5 ordinary orcs to kill. That terrifying encounter forced Dianal to retreat, leading to the collapse of his entire former unit. Armed with this grim warning, Damien realizes he must investigate the threat firsthand. Struggling under the heavy load, the red-haired recruit tries to organize the conflicting rumors. With nothing confirmed, his only option is to observe the battlefield with his own eyes. With gear checked, the commander gives his final order to prioritize survival above all else. The gates grind open, and Damien marches out toward his very first real battlefield. Stepping into the Bronzerian forest, the 50-man squad splits up to search the perimeter. The captain takes our boy Damien and the other recruits under his wing, warning them to stay close. Though it looks like a normal woodland, Damien's battle-hardened instincts immediately flare up. 5 years of surviving lethal war zones tell him one thing. This place is a death trap, and death is already watching. A sudden shout breaks the silence. The scouts have found something ahead, prompting the captain and the recruits to rush to the scene. They discover a gruesome scene of slaughtered gatherers, their weapons still scattered in the dirt. Whoever attacked them left no survivors, and the sheer destruction of the surrounding trees points to a monstrous culprit. The soldiers debate what could have caused this carnage, guessing at bears or ogres, but the captain remains highly skeptical. Damien notices the shredded corpse of a giant red bear nearby. Analyzing the massive claw marks and the shattered trees, our young spearman points out that the predator's forepaw must have been absolutely colossal. Impressed by the tactical analysis, the captain asks where a rookie learned to read a battlefield. Damien quickly covers his tracks, lying that his father was a hunter. His fellow recruit, Kyle, is immediately confused, pointing out that Damien previously claimed his father was in the military. Lil Bro shuts him down with a silent, threatening glare. Recognizing the danger of pushing deeper without intel, the captain orders an immediate retreat to recover the bodies. Damien approves of the cautious call, knowing that charging blindly ahead is just suicide. But the forest isn't letting them leave. Damien senses a sudden threat and screams for everyone to get down just before a massive boulder crashes into the squad, pinning a soldier. As Kyle rushes to lift the heavy stone, Damien channels his purple mana to reinforce his own physical strength, desperate to save their ally before whatever threw the rock closes in. Straining against the crushing weight, Damien and Kyle throw their strength into lifting the massive boulder. With the captain directing the squad, they manage to drag the bloodied soldier out from under the stone. As the soldier writhes in pain, Damien offers a wild herb to chew on. The captain recognizes it as toxic amancho, but our boy quickly explains that combining it with Nemoja seeds safely neutralizes the poison. The captain is stunned by the recruit's advanced medical knowledge, but there is no time to dwell on it. Damien urges an immediate retreat, warning that the boulder was clearly thrown by something nearby. Heavy footsteps shake the ground before Damien can even finish his warning. Emerging from the shadows is a massive, crimson-eyed wolf monster, cutting off their escape and forcing the squad into an instant battle for survival. Terror grips the front lines as a colossal black bear tears through the woods. The unit leader quickly orders his men to retreat the wounded and target the beast's legs. A warrior named Helson charges in with his giant axe, hoping to cripple the monster with a single blow, but his blade barely pierces the thick hide, leaving him completely exposed. Before the captain can warn him to focus, the enraged beast retaliates with a devastating swipe. The impact sends Helson flying through the air, his weapon lost. The predator corners its prey, but the captain steps in, barely blocking a crushing blow with his sword. Seeing 3 of his men down, he realizes this beast cannot be allowed to escape. Ordering an all-out assault, the soldiers swarm the beast, stabbing it repeatedly until it collapses. Just as the captain prepares the final blow, young Damien senses something highly unusual: the presence of mana. With a final plunge of his sword, the captain puts the beast down, letting the squad celebrate their hard-won victory. But as he examines the carcass, he discovers a bizarre black decay rotting the creature's flesh. While the men worry about a contagious plague, our boy Damien spots the abnormality and instantly knows the truth. An unnatural beast like this only appears under very specific, dangerous conditions. The captain commands his men to skin the beast for armor, but the red-haired prodigy steps up and halts the order. He warns the squad that touching this skin is a lethal mistake. Recognizing the gravity of Damien's warning, the captain immediately halts the harvest and orders a full retreat back to headquarters. But the rookie's knowledge has raised serious questions, and he is ordered to report directly to the captain's office. Once behind closed doors, our boy doesn't waste time. He delivers a chilling truth: the mutated black spots on the beast weren't a common plague, but the necrotic corruption of forbidden demonic energy. The captain is visibly shaken, knowing that black magic is a capital offense. While Damien can't confirm a living mage is nearby, he warns that the forest is harboring a dark force that cannot be ignored. Privately, the red-haired prodigy recalls the timeline from his past life. He knows the Bronzerian forest was once devastated by a corrupted magic stone, causing a historic catastrophe that shook the entire empire. As the corruption spreads, more beasts will fall victim, turning the woodland into a literal death zone. To prevent a massive outbreak, they must locate and destroy the demonic source before it grows too powerful. To explain his knowledge without revealing his regression, Damien claims he heard the story from his father's past encounters. Grasping at straws for survival, the captain demands every detail. The next morning, a sudden announcement disrupts the barracks. Word arrives that the entire Bronzerian forest has been placed under a strict lockdown, forbidding anyone from entering. While the rest of the squad celebrates a surprise break from dangerous missions, Damien's dread only deepens. He realizes the crisis has started far earlier than he anticipated, leaving them very little time to prepare. The tension spikes as the heavy armored garrison units march straight into headquarters. Their leader reveals that the temple priests felt a horrific, evil aura radiating from the slain bear's corpse, confirming Damien's worst fears. The captain realizes Damien's warning was entirely accurate, but the visiting commander wants to launch a joint search. To guide them, he demands the squad hand over the very soldier who identified the dark energy. Though the captain hesitates to send an inexperienced rookie into danger, he knows defying the garrison will lead to severe penalties. With his hands tied, he calls on Aaron to summon the recruit. A sigh escapes the red-haired prodigy as he gets dragged straight back into the center of the crisis. Inside the unit base, our boy Damien spots the local garrison officers lining up. He instantly senses trouble, wondering why the heavy hitters have arrived in their territory. The commander calls him forward, warning that he can refuse this dangerous mission if he wants to. But Damien isn't about to back down now. Without a second of hesitation, the rookie agrees to join. If they don't act fast, the monstrosity fueled by demonic energy will slip right through their fingers. Seeing his absolute resolve, the commander grants him permission to go. Damien salutes, ready to move out the moment the schedule is locked in. Outside, the commander offers to send seasoned squad members along for backup, but our boy insists on going solo, knowing it is much easier to escape alone if things go south. The veteran officer issues a strict warning. Combat is completely forbidden. Damien assures him he'll stick to gathering herbs and return safely, leaving the commander completely baffled by this unusual rookie. Deep in the forest, a massive search operation gets underway. Damien observes their high-tier reinforcements, including Captain Basil of the Urkel garrison and Claire, a priestess from the Adelant Temple. Captain Basil tries to throw his weight around, questioning the rookie. But Damien drops a massive level of disrespect, casually reminding the captain that they belong to different units. Meaning rank doesn't mean a thing here. The captain is left utterly stunned, unable to believe the audacity of this recruit. He marks our boy as a complete madman who has no regard for military hierarchy. Priestess Claire takes notice, asking about the strange rookie. When she learns Damien was the first to raise suspicion about the demonic energy, her eyes lock onto him, sensing there is far more to this soldier than meets the eye. Priestess Claire corners our boy, demanding to know how a mere rookie was the first to detect the demonic energy. Damien stays on guard, immediately sensing she is probing for his secrets. Thinking fast, he spins a lie, claiming he learned the telltale signs of corruption from his late father's past encounters. Claire presses for more details, eager to verify if this rookie is the real deal. Damien describes the horrific symptoms, a complete loss of reason, erratic behavior, and necrotic black spots covering the beast's skin. Satisfied with his explanation, the priestess takes her leave, while Captain Basil barks orders for the search party to advance deeper into the forest. As the squad moves out, our boy slips away from the main group. He isn't here to play hero. He is hunting for a rare herb to boost his mana. Bingo. He spots a white lot, the ultimate catalyst for mana recovery. But his sudden movements trigger a false alarm, causing the nearby soldiers to panic, thinking a monster has ambushed them. The garrison troops rage at him for causing a scene over a simple plant. But Damien coldly reminds them that searching is their job, and he is only here for basic cooperation. When they accuse him of sabotaging the mission, Lilbrode drops a massive level of disrespect, telling them that panicking over a rookie's movements shows just how pathetic their level really is. Before a fight breaks out, Captain Basil steps in to shut down the bickering. He warns Damien that reckless behavior will not be tolerated, forcing the rookie to back down for now. The commander orders the squad to unpack and begin searching the immediate area, but the peace doesn't last for long. A sudden rustling in the thicket catches the soldiers off guard as a pack of red-eyed beasts emerges. What seemed like a routine skirmish turns deadly when the troops spot the necrotic black markings of demonic corruption. A corrupted orc lunges with blinding speed, leaving the frontline soldier completely defenseless against the fatal blow. But before the strike lands, Damien rushes in to deflect the attack, coldly warning the garrison troops to pull themselves together. Deep in the forest, a sudden ambush throws the convoy into chaos. The captain instantly reacts, ordering his squad into battle formation to block the oncoming orc raid in groups of 3, while a designated unit guards the priest. Watching from the sidelines, Damien notes the commander's battle-hardened composure, but the tactical plan is immediately shattered when a group of enraged, red-eyed beasts tears through the foliage, targeting the priest's squad. As the monsters charge, the terrified priest drops to her knees and begins desperately praying, channeling her inner mana as the guards struggle to intercept the overwhelming onslaught. A blinding surge of divine power erupts from her hands, momentarily disorienting the beasts, but the sheer physical force of the enemy axes continues to batter down the defensive line. Knowing they will all perish if the line collapses, our boy disobeys direct orders to stay back, launching himself high into the air and driving his spear deep into the enemy ranks. As a massive monster crashes dead onto the forest floor, a stunned soldier stands frozen in complete disbelief. Damien lands smoothly and immediately barks orders to snap him back to reality. Shouting over the din of battle, the young spearman tells the guard to go reinforce the others while he handles the defense here, leaving him alone to protect the priest as more threats approach. Instead of coddling the panicked girl, Damien grabs her face to force her attention, bluntly demanding she snap out of it before her fear gets everyone on the battlefield killed. Realizing this is her very first real combat deployment, he points directly toward the frontline skirmish, instructing her to channel and unleash her maximum divine power to break the enemy's charge. Desperate to survive, the priestess unleashes a massive wave of holy magic, her staff glowing with blinding divine energy. Our boy immediately recognizes this isn't standard magic. She wields the raw power of a high priest. Seizing the opening as the blinding light disorients the monsters, the guards press the attack, slicing down the stunned invaders. With the red-eyed beasts finally put down, the survivors catch their breath. The captain takes stock of the bloody skirmish, grimly reporting 8 casualties and ordering his men to recover the fallen. Inspecting the corpses, the priestess confirms the worst. Demonic energy has tainted the forest. Realizing a massive subjugation force will be needed to cleanse the area, the captain prepares to make a formal report. This is exactly what the young spearman wanted to hear. With a subjugation force on the horizon, his own punishment unit will likely be sent to the vanguard, offering the perfect chance to climb the ranks. Before he can plan his next move, the soldiers he saved step forward to bow in deep gratitude. Despite his cold demeanor, Damien acts casual, shrugging off the praise. Retrieving his supplies, the little general pulls out the rare medicinal herbs he gathered earlier, preparing to put them to good use. Approaching the commander, Damien hands over his supply bag and bluntly demands they beat up the herb merchants in Urkel, leaving the veteran warrior completely dumbfounded. Lil Bro explains that the local crooks charge 5 times the normal price, draining the soldiers' life-risking wages. Handing over his free collection to treat the wounded, he leaves the captain stunned by his unexpected generosity. With the skirmish settled, the captain orders a pullback to recover the fallen and tend to the wounded. As the young spearman shoulders his pack and prepares to move out, the priestess quietly watches him walk away, a silent expression of gratitude on her face. Back at headquarters, Damien reports the presence of demonic energy from the orcs to Commander Terran. The commander takes in the news silently, his grim expression showing he knows the threat is growing. Terran slides over a mysterious box sent by the garrison captain as a reward. The captain is also launching a massive audit on the local herb gatherers, which is set to slash herb prices in half. With his business concluded, the young soldier is dismissed. Terran sits alone in his office, deeply contemplating the recruit's bizarre behavior and unexplained competence. Another officer enters, pointing out that Damien is anything but ordinary. It turns out the kid can already use mana, yet he chose to donate valuable medicinal herbs for free instead of selling them for a fortune. Terran can only smile at the recruit's unexpected altruism. In a brutal world filled with greedy cutthroats, the young spearman is proving to be a complete anomaly. Walking down the hall, our boy opens the box to find a rare mana enhancement elixir. He grins like a bandit, eager to use this unexpected treasure to power up his core. A massive squad mate sneaks up on him, prompting a lightning-fast elbow straight to the gut. Damien quickly plays it cool, claiming he just received simple medicine for the fierce battle. Damien warns his friend that they will be doing plenty of fighting soon enough. Back in the barracks, the squad immediately mobs their new recruit, praising him for bringing back life-saving herbs. An officer interrupts the celebration to announce a major subjugation force heading to the Bronzerian forest. The troops cheer at the prospect of temporary free time, but Damien knows the real battle is just around the corner. While the rest of the squad prepares to enjoy their hard-earned free time, a quiet soldier named Dianel slips out of the barracks to train alone. As Dianel leaves, he throws a tense glare back at the rookie, prompting Damien to wonder what the swordsman has against him. Out in the training yard, Dianel pushes his body to exhaustion. Haunted by his near-death struggle in the last battle, the swordsman feels trapped by his own physical limitations. When he spots Damien heading out, Dianel remembers the squad praising the recruit's unbelievable survival skills. Desperate to close the gap between them, he decides to follow. Deep in the forest, our boy finds a quiet clearing and pops open his rare reward. Wasting no time, he gulps down the highly concentrated mana elixir to begin his breakthrough. The rush of energy is immense. Channeling the volatile purple flames, the young spearman locks his focus, refusing to let even a single drop go to waste. As night falls, Damien finishes the process but realizes a critical problem. His current mana core is too small, bottlenecking his absorption speed and forcing him to find a way to expand it. A sudden voice breaks the silence. Damien snaps out of his trance to find Dianel watching him, cursing himself for letting his guard drop so completely during his training. Dianel admits he's been tracking the rookie's nightly training runs. Eager to test the strength of the soldier who saved the squad, Dianel draws his blade and demands a full-power duel. Damien is taken aback. In this military unit, infighting is strictly forbidden, but one look at the swordsman's eyes confirms he is dead serious. Damien recognizes that look instantly. Dianel has hit a wall in his growth. Calling out his squadmate's stagnation leaves Dianel completely stunned. The silence is deafening as sweat rolls down the veteran's face, unable to deny that his progress has ground to a halt. Dianel confesses he has been blocked for 3 months, desperate for a breakthrough. Damien knows that exact torment, remembering the brutal, misguided training of his own past life that led to nothing but wasted effort. Though sparring is a punishable offense, Dianel is willing to risk it all. Damien warns him that he might get seriously hurt, but the desperate swordsman only grips his blade tighter, welcoming the danger. The spear and sword clash in the quiet woods. Challenging his comrade to bring everything he has, our boy beckons him forward to start the duel. Outside the fortress walls, the captain and his subaltern discuss the impending, brutal subjugation mission. While it is bound to be a bloodbath, securing a victory here could change their unit's entire fortune. Suddenly, a sharp whistling noise cuts through the night air. Sensing trouble, the two officers immediately head toward the source, ready for whatever threat might be lurking in the shadows. They discover Dianel and Damien locked in a fierce midnight training session. Although the lieutenant wants to intervene, the captain stops him, realizing the veteran warrior is desperate enough to seek help from a mere rookie. The disparity in their combat skill is massive. Dianel unleashes a flurry of ferocious strikes, but Damien effortlessly reads every single movement, leaving the veteran completely unable to land a single hit. Damien easily dissects his opponent's style. While the massive greatsword boasts incredible destructive power, its sheer weight forces simple, predictable paths that will eventually tear Dianel's body apart and ruin his balance. Realizing words will never convince a stubborn soldier, the young spearman decides to carve the lesson directly into his bones. Channeling the raw mana from his recently consumed elixir, he surges forward like a bolt of lightning. Dianel braces himself as the temperature in the clearing plummets. Confident in his raw offensive power, the veteran refuses to back down, steeling his grip for a brutal head-on collision. Their weapons collide with a deafening shockwave that ripples through the forest. In a flash of blinding light, Damien's precise strike completely overpowers the heavy blade, driving it clean out of Dianel's hands and straight into the dirt. The defeated warrior collapses, crying out in shock over his ruined, expensive weapon. But our boy has no time for complaints, coldly ordering the private to pick up his steel and attack again. Though he knows fighting with a damaged weapon is sheer madness, the veteran refuses to yield. Gritting his teeth, Dianel prepares to continue the sparring match, desperate to prove his worth. Dianel charges back into the fray, swinging the broken half of his greatsword. But as he moves, he's shocked to find his strikes flowing faster and his body feeling lighter than ever before. Damien breaks it down. The massive blade was always too heavy for Dianel's frame. Realizing he's spent his entire career fighting his own gear, the veteran is left stunned by the rookie's tactical insight. To make amends for breaking the weapon, our boy offers to buy him a new one tomorrow. It's a calculated move. Damien knows securing this man's trust is worth every penny he has. The next day, they head to a weapon shop where Damien picks out a pair of curved scimitars. These desert blades are designed for fluid, rapid strikes rather than raw, sluggish power. Although Dianel hesitates at the thought of wielding dual blades, the young spearman promises to teach him a rare technique. If he masters it, his strength will multiply overnight. Damien uses a little friendly extortion, refusing to pay unless Dianel accepts the scimitars. It's a small price to pay, considering the history they share. See, in Damien's previous life, Dianel was the ultimate comrade, a brother in arms who laid down his life for him. Now, our boy is determined to rewrite that tragic ending. Handing over the new weapons, Damien flashes a wicked grin that sends shivers down the veteran's spine. Meanwhile, far from the military camp, a meeting unfolds inside a grand cathedral. Priestess Claire learns that the temple is deploying 20 priests alongside the monk unit for the subjugation. This massive deployment is completely unprecedented, signaling a severe threat. Haunted by her last mission, Claire requests to join the front lines. The High Priest approves, confirming that the Neocolits unit will also lead the charge into the Bronzerian forest. Claire realizes Damien will be joining the subjugation force, triggering a memory of his intense command. Back then, he snapped her out of her panic, forcing her to unleash her divine power. Recalling his fierce authority leaves her completely flushed. On the open fields of Urkal, the local garrison prepares to receive the royal subjugation force. But the man leading the reinforcements, Baron Wilkes Diello, is far from welcoming. Wilkes immediately looks down on the garrison captain for his commoner status, dismissing the entire region as a god-forsaken waste he wants to leave as quickly as possible. While the regular troops grumble about the noble's sheer arrogance, Damien quietly observes the newcomer, hoping this mission doesn't turn into a complete disaster. Addressing the gathered forces, the haughty commander announces their royal mandate to purge the demonic energy lurking inside the Bronzerian forest, ordering a full-scale advance. As the massive army marches into the thick woods, our red-haired protagonist playfully nudges his ally to shout louder, keeping the mood light before the storm hits. But numbers alone won't guarantee survival in a forest this massive. Even the local captain feels a deep sense of dread, a grim premonition that their forces are severely lacking. The dense trees quickly squeeze their lines, forcing a sudden change to a narrow column formation. Damien notes the commander's quick decision, but warns that a stretched line is highly vulnerable. Seeking to secure their flanks, Captain Basel urges the commander to reposition their shieldmen. However, Wilkes ignores the sound advice, ordering the local garrison to take the hazardous center instead. When Basel suggests deploying fast scouts to scan the dark woods, Wilkes laughs off the caution, arrogance blinding him to the very real danger of a monster ambush. Shutting down all further debate, the Baron threateningly warns the captain against overstepping his rank, leaving the veteran commander with no choice but to back down. The march begins with easy blood as the vanguard cuts down the initial wave of forest beasts. Seeing the effortless victories, the arrogant Baron immediately mocks the local forces, completely blind to the trap they are walking into. But our heroes are far more alert. Sniffing the damp air, the massive ally detects the foul stench of rotting flesh, tracing the source directly beneath their feet. Staring down, Damien recognizes the telltale signs of a subterranean ambush. Before he can scream a warning, the earth erupts, unleashing a swarm of aggressive morks directly into their disorganized ranks. Chaos erupts instantly as soldiers scramble to defend their flanks. The spear-wielding protagonist realizes these normally peaceful, solitary beasts are acting like rabid packhounds, driven mad by the corrupted mana. Spear in hand, our boy rallies the panicking lines, skewering the beasts head-on. But as the endless horde keeps pouring in, he realizes they need a hard counter to purge the demonic energy, sprinting back to find their hidden trump card. Finding the terrified priestesses cowering behind the lines, the young general quickly pulls them forward. He commands them to release their divine energy over the battlefield just like before, aiming to break the horde's corruption in one clean sweep. Stealing her resolve, the lead priestess clasps her hands and unleashes a blinding shockwave of holy light. The sacred energy washes over the forest, instantly burning away the demonic corruption and leaving the monsters writhing in agony. Seizing the opening, Captain Basil roars the order to counterattack. The revitalized soldiers hack through the weakened beasts, painting the forest floor in black blood until the sudden silence confirms their survival. With the immediate threat cleared, the veteran captain immediately moves to secure the perimeter and treat the wounded, ensuring every single beast is truly dead. But instead of gratitude, Captain Basil is met with a stinging slap to the face. The arrogant baron blames the local garrison for the ambush, furiously accusing them of neglecting the forest's monsters and ignoring his own fatal mistakes.